you all. Got a great interview for you today. You're going to love this one. Now, if you are interested in human achievement, if you want to know about the nature of discipline, if you want to know about the relationship between discipline and achievement, and you want to hear from a man who has propelled people to Paralympic gold, you want to hear from a person who has trained people who have near drowned and migrants from landlocked countries who've never seen a body bigger than a body of water, bigger than a bath to swim, Herbie Howard is my guest today. He really is a quiet achiever, both in his own right and for the things that he's done in the coaching world. Herbie swam at state levels and played rep AFL, but his biggest achievement isn't this, as notable as it was. It's through literally thousands of people's lives. He has touched, literally thousands of people's lives and improved their swimming. He's a swim coach. He coached the legendary Grant Scooter Patterson, who's a previous guest of Northern Vibe. He coaches everybody. He coaches disabled people, migrants, anyone who wants to turn up and get coached, he'll coach them. He's really good at his job. He's a top bloke. And the insights that he's gained from motivating people to improve their lives, I genuinely found very inspirational. And I know you will too. This is a short interview, but truly worth your time. I suggest you watch it to the end. Please like, please share, please comment. I really need you to do that. So make sure that you click on the subscribe button, click on the notifications, make sure you comment. I'll pass any of the comments on to Herbie. And without further ado, here is Herbie Howard.
Yeah, no, right. Well, originally born in South Australia, and I swam at the Henley and Grange swimming pool, which is a 50-metre outdoor saltwater pool. It's not there anymore. The blocks are still there, but there's no pool there anymore. And then Dad was transferred over to Melbourne in '74, so I went over there, and Dad was involved in officiating at the time, and the rest of my brothers and sisters all swam. So we went over to Melbourne and swam at the Sindel Swimming Club. And then later I went to Waterlines Swimming Club, which was run by Wayne Laws. So I swam with Wayne till I was 25. So I did, states and nationals and all that sort of stuff. Had a bit of a break, and then came up to Cairns for a holiday in 2000, and never went home. So I've been up here ever since then. I fell into a job at the Tas Aquatic Centre, the new one that just been built out there then. Adam Luskin was running the pool at that stage, and he needed a hand, so I went and took over the assistant coaching job with him, and it's gone from there.
So swimming has long been in your family?
Yeah, as I said, Dad, my brother and sister both swam as well, and Dad was a technical official, so he was a national starter. So he used to travel around Australia, never get paid for anything. It was all voluntary back in those days. So he used to travel around Australia and start all the trials and major events around Australia, and we just swam. Yeah, that was just our main sport. I mean, at that age, when you're 11 or 12, you're playing footy or AFL down in Melbourne, obviously, and cricket and tennis and everything else you get your hands on. But swimming was the main sport for me. Yeah.
How did you fall into coaching? Like, what drew you into coaching as opposed to actually participating in the sport itself?
Yeah, well, it actually started at AFL level, because I played till I was 16 at AFL down in Glen Waverley, and then once I sort of went to the swimming side, as in the sport I wanted to follow, but I still loved AFL, so I got into coaching it as a 17-year-old in AFL, and I coached at the Glen Waverley Hawks for 20 years, I suppose, or 18 years or something like that. That was all junior kids as well, so. Yeah, so that's how I got into the actual coaching side of it. And then when I moved down to Phillip Island for a little while, and did my Oz swim. You learned to swim just as a curiosity thing to do, and then just started doing a bit of teaching down that way, and then came up here and got stuck into it. So I suppose coaching and working with kids has always been what I've been doing since day one, sort of thing. A lot of that was voluntary back then as well. So now I feel a bit guilty getting paid for doing something I love. It's good.
Mate, that's the secret to a happy and healthy life, really. I like swimming, but it's about drills, and it can be a bit boring looking at that line unless you really love it. How do you maintain the inspiration and the interest in your people?
In my people, it's a tough sport. I mean, I tell the kids all the time, swimming's the most challenging, difficult, technical sport in the world. If it was an easy sport, it'd be soccer and everyone would be doing it, which they are. So, swimming's a really tough sport. And to do that, and you have to have, I suppose, to get at a decent level, a certain mindset that, this is what I want to do and this is what I enjoy doing. And a lot of people enjoy that, head in the water, not having to listen to anybody else, and just, it's a freedom thing. And you'll find a lot of kids with disability and autism and that sort of stuff just like that underwater feeling of just floating and not hearing it and just blocking everything out. And I suppose that people get into that zone and enjoy that sort of stuff. And it's you have to be a certain breed, I suppose, to enjoy the swimming as much as that and get out of that headspace and into your own sort of thing.
I got to say, that is, I suppose I'm revealing a fair bit about my own mindset here.
Yeah.
That's what actually really appeals to me about swimming, because I'm not bad at it, but I was never really properly trained and I'm not technically good, but I love the idea of getting in the pool and just being in your head at that time. Sometimes I write a bit too, and I find I get out of the pool and that's when I'm just on fire. Like I can kind of, I can really smash stuff out. Do you see it as a form of meditation or anything like that?
If you're doing it easy and controlled and that sort of stuff, yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of adults do it for that sort of reason, where they can just be in their happy place, and also, it takes a lot of stress off the bones and the muscles and that sort of stuff. You're just floating, so it's because water's 784 times denser than what air is, and all of a sudden you're in the water and you're just supported. And this is where, and I'll probably bang on about disability a little bit, but this is where the disability kids get so much joy out of it, because it takes that pressure off and they're not on land and having that force of walking around or being on land all the time. They're actually in water and they can float and enjoy it and feel a little bit freer.
Their joints aren't being smacked, so it's great for disability and injuries. But mate, can we dive right into the I'm here all week, into the disability side and all that kind of stuff, because I know it's something you're passionate about. And can you give some background as to, because you hold some positional authority with that too, with Queensland Swimming?
Look, I suppose when I started swim coaching in Cairns back in 2000, we was in a program that Adam Luskin was running, and we had a lot of disability kids in the program. So it's nothing new to me. It's not, I was sort of started coaching with kids in the program. Back then we had obviously Scooter, Grant Patterson back then, and he was only a 10 or a little fella back then. Not that he's changed height-wise, but he was only small back then, as in age-wise. Then we had a few other, Alan Bunyan, Chris Diem, and there was these group of kids that were, and they weren't, they had severe disabilities as well, and they were swimming at national level and that sort of stuff. So I sort of grew up with that, or in my coaching pathway. So it wasn't anything new. So when I sort of left Tas and went over to Brook for 4 or 5 years, nothing changed. So anyone that came into the program, I wasn't afraid to take on. And that's where I find, coaches and that now are a little bit, I don't know if it's scared or they just don't want to take on the role of looking after kids with disability, but that's where it's just so challenging and enjoyable, because you can just see the pathway and the results these kids get is a lot faster than a lot of able-bodied kids. So that's where it is. And then from that, I've been involved with Swimming Queensland as their para-swimming development officer. Haven't done a lot of work with Swimming Australia, but it's mainly been with Swimming Queensland. I've been helping mentor other coaches and swimmers and run clinics and camps and that for Swimming Queensland. And then just getting these kids involved and you look at the para team now, I think about 70% of them are from Queensland, so I know it's awesome, but the pathway and the opportunities kids have been getting has been great, because now they're on national teams and that sort of stuff and doing really well, and you can see where they've started and where they are now. Jack Island, for example, who's an S14, which is an intellectual impairment. He started off as a young pup in some of our programs, and it goes back to their home coach, obviously. But as a association at Swimming Queensland, we're able to get him excited and get him involved in this pathway, and then Swimming Australia took over. But you can see that now, he's made getting medals at the World Championships just recently, and you go, this is awesome. From 10 years or something ago, where he's a timid, shy little guy who didn't want to swim and scared of everything. Now he's on the national stage winning medals. So that side of it's awesome, and you can just see the results progress. It's good.
Well, that leads directly into the question. So, what is the link between sport and building character?
Yeah, look, I mean, as I said, swimming's a really tough sport. And, if you want to get a decent level, you've got to be doing your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sessions a week in dry land. Scoot does 7 water sessions and 2 dry land sessions or gym sessions a week. So it is really demanding. Yeah. And even, the able-bodied kids, we got 250 kids in our program, so there's just kids everywhere, and they're all at different levels and different goals that they want to achieve and everything else. But the connection between training and the commitment and time management and everything else is huge when you're talking about school and then going on to work and that sort of stuff. So it's not just, we always say it's not just swimming. There's so many other factors that are incorporated into making these kids into good humans and good people. And you get messages from them now where, they're, doctors and lawyers and psychologists, and you go, wow, this is, and not, you've had a little bit of a role in how they've grown up and but they wouldn't be getting to that stage if they didn't have the discipline, I suppose, and the time management, and the fact that, I've got to do this, but I still have to do this, and I'm committed to swimming and I'm committed to school. How do I get that balance? And they have to just work it out, and, with guidance from parents and coaches and that sort of stuff, you get these kids just doing amazing things, and they look back on it and go, wow, I'm so glad I kept swimming in year 11 and 12, just give me that break away from the studies and that sort of stuff. And now, I've got, like I said, kids down in Sydney now that are, like I said, full of my kids down in Sydney now, doing medicine, another kid doing psychology in Brisbane, and it's just, I hope he's not using me as an example, but there's so many stories like that, and you go, wow, this is awesome, and you don't hear of too many getting off the, I don't hear any of them getting off the rails, they're disciplined enough to know their path and where they want to go. I've got so many questions, but I really want to talk about the nature of discipline, because this is such an important thing. I was in the police for 30 years, and when you say discipline, of course, you think of like sergeants yelling at you, which is and was real, and also you kind of like consider yourself as a bit of a tyrant. Like sometimes you just got to force yourself to do stuff. Like you deserve a medal to get in just for getting in the pool, or definitely
doing something else. But like, can you talk about what you see discipline is and its nature? Is it just this you being a tyrant with yourself, or allowing yourself to be tyrannized by other people? What's the real nature of discipline?
Look, motivation. I mean, we can give guidance and everything else as coaches or parents, but motivation comes from within. I mean, if you've got a little goal that you want to do, or you want to achieve, or where you want to finish up, and that's where your discipline comes from. It's you setting yourself up, and it's really hard for a young kid to say, yeah, I want to do this. But we sit down with our guys and go through goal setting all the time about, where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? It doesn't have to be swimming related. We got a lot of surf kids and triathlon kids that are in the program. What do you want to do? And then we go and almost backtrack a little bit and say, what do we need to be able to do to get to those goals? And once they've sort of set that up, then the discipline, as I said, comes from within to say, okay, this is what I want to do. I've set my goal here. This is what I want to achieve. What do I have to do? And then we just, as coaches, say, look, this is what you need to do. This is what we want you to do. We can't make you do it, obviously, but there's the pathway for you to make it happen. Yeah,
do you find that discipline frees people? And what I mean by that is, like, so I mean, if you have, say you want to get good at, and or you use swimming because it's it's what it is, or AFL or something like that. Like, you've got to learn the basics. You've got to kind of get good at them. But when you do that, you're a lot freer in the pool or on the field, because you've got more capacity to do stuff. Like, is there a relationship between freedom and discipline, which sounds counterinstinctual?
Yeah. There's no rocket science. I mean, the more you do something, and especially in water, as I said, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. It's not. And if you've got the right instructions and that sort of stuff, and the program's set properly, and then you're going to do pretty well. But if you don't turn up, you can't do it by osmosis. So it's not going to happen, just by hoping it's going to happen. So you've really got to do the work. And I think that's with any sport or any career or anything you want to do. And I suppose a lot of today, you just see people at the top, you see where they got, but you haven't seen how they've got there. And so that's a big part of, what we're trying to teach kids. And this is what we've, learned with Scoot and Joel and that sort of stuff. They've got to have the building blocks to be able to get there. And it's not just, it's all fluffy at the top. It looks awesome. You get the medals or whatever else you get and the world records and stuff like that. But it's the massive journey, which is so much more important than the destination.
Yeah. And it's important to what have people fallen in love with? Is it the idea what idea have people fallen in love with? Is it the idea of like, oh yeah, look at me? Or is it the idea of like, no, I want to get good at this?
Yeah, look, it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I try and encourage and to work on that journey a little bit rather than the results at the end. And we try and make it as fun as possible to say, yeah, look, the journey can be awesome, and there's a little stepping, there's going to be ups and downs, and with the scooter, there's been so many downs, and but the highs have been, massive. So it's more about, just educating the kids and trying to get them to say, look, this is the pathway, and it's so many stepping stones along the way.
It's more facilitating, really. All you can do is like, hey, here's that water, there's that path.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, look, you can't get in and move their arms for them, but you've got to. The idea is you've got to get them keep coming back. They want to keep. If you set up a program that they enjoy and they want to be there, and they've got it. And the main reason they swim is for their friends and fun anyway. So if you can get kids in the water because it's enjoyable, then you're going to have them.
All right. So you talk a fair bit about coaching, people with disabilities. And that some other coaches aren't. They've got a bit of fear, I suppose, about doing it. What's the difference between coaching someone who's got a disability and an able-bodied swimmer?
Look, there's not a lot. I mean, they're still working. It's still working with a body in water. So you're still trying to get them from A to B as fast as they can, using the least amount of energy, I suppose. So that side of it, but it's easy if you've got a squad of, and this is where I like the challenge, I suppose. It's easy if you've got a squad of 10 kids, all with the same ability, all doing the same time cycles, all doing the same sets and everything else. I enjoy the challenge of having, 20 kids or 15 kids in a program of a morning. And then I've got, Scooter at an international level. Then you've got a couple of kids at a state level. Then you've got some other kids at a different level that are doing it for surf or whatever. And to be able to set the program so that, everyone's getting something out of it. I mean, it's easy to do 10 kids doing the same thing. It's a challenge to have 15 kids doing different things. Yeah. So that's the part. And then when you're talking about disability, I mean, a lot of the disability, if you're talking about intellectual or vision impaired or hearing impaired, a lot of those guys, functionally, they should be just as good as able-bodies, because there's only, they haven't got a lot of physical disability. It's more hearing, and there's obviously factors that come into it. When you start losing, we have athletes with, limb impairments or CP or spina bifida or, dwarfism or whatever, then it becomes more challenging because you've got to try and work out how to move them through the water or how they move through the water and what they can do to get from A to B. And that's the challenging part. And that's what we've had with Scooter and Joel, who used to spend most of his time in a wheelchair, and he went to the Commonwealth Games last year in the 50 free. And he's got, limited function from the hips down. So how do you get him doing butterfly really well? I mean, he goes 33 or 32 for a 50 fly, but he's got no legs whatsoever, as in he's got legs, but they just don't operate. They don't move. So it's all upper body. And then you've just got to work on body position and say, okay, how do we work on that? And how do we get that better? And by adjusting one end and getting the other end better. And so that side of it is exciting, when we were looking at Scooter and his freestyle, I don't know if you've seen his freestyle, but he sort of swims on his side.
He does.
All right. Because, doing that traditional 2-arm freestyle didn't work for him because he couldn't turn his head and rotate enough to get enough air. So he was sort of floundering. So we've actually got him on his side now and doing like a side stroke, and the other arm comes over the top. So, and we dropped from, a 110 for a 50 freestyle, and now he's doing 51, 52 for 50 freestyle, just by modifying and changing his stroke a little bit. So that side of it, and obviously playing within the rules, but trying to come up with a better plan to make them swim faster, and that's the exciting part of it. And but with the coaching side of it, I don't know if coaches are scared or they just want to stay with that able-bodied program that is easier. I think
comfort zone
makes sense.
Yeah, comfort zone stuff.
Yeah. And unfortunately, up in far north Queensland, there's probably 5 or 6 swimmers that are competitive in a disability space, and I've got 4 of them. So the other one's up in Mariba. So so that's I don't want them all. I'd rather have it, have these kids spread out a little bit, and there's so many opportunities to have more kids in the program for sure.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, so there's a couple of things with that. So first, you got to make sure that the stroke is still technically freestyle, so you're competing in that kind of stuff. So that's a limitation. But with a lot of the stuff, like, because I've spoken to Scooter, who is a dead set, I got to say, that was a fantastic interview. He's a loose cannon, eh?
Yeah,
he's dead set fun. Loose, but a real character and a dead set legend. But he indicated that he's overcoming pain.
Yeah,
like overcoming that pain barrier.
Yeah,
that's yet another barrier, man. That's
look, he's probably the most disabled athlete Australia's had at that sort of level, and for him to do what he does day in, day out, he's in pain a lot of the time, and I don't know how he blocks it out, and I probably take him for granted a little bit. No pun intended with his name, but I probably take him for granted a little bit because I've worked with him for so long, 15 years or whatever now at the top level. But and this is where we work really well together, is that he's the best judge of how he's feeling and what, what he's capable of on the day, and I can write a program, but I'll always check with him to see how he is and where he's sitting, and how much pain is he in and what rotations he's got and, what he's had to do during the day. And then I have to adjust the program to make sure that it fits in, and then we might do that one another day, and drop it off a little bit and then pick it up somewhere else. But it's just, it's one of those things. And, the athletes with the disability, they're the ones that have got they know what they live with. I mean, I've never, had a functional disability. I don't know what they go through. You sort of watch them and I can imagine, but it's not something that I know what they're going through every day. So you've got to tiptoe around it a little bit, but you still don't want to wrap them in cotton wool and make it easy for them. And the only way anyone's going to improve is by being uncomfortable, and that's what we try and work with.
Wow. So you've always got to be biting off a little bit more than you can chew. But it's not just that. So I understand you also deal a fair bit with the migrant community, and that means dealing with people who've never seen a large body of water. Like I lived in Outer Mongolia for 6 months.
Yeah.
And, I met some people that they hadn't seen a body of water as large as a swimming pool.
No, either a swimming pool or, a beach, and we take it for granted being Australians. We're all living on the coast, or most of us live on the coast somewhere, and you see water every day, or you're in primary school and you're going swimming lessons. So everyone's sort of grown up with it. But you get people that have come from, landlocked countries, like Nepal or something like that, who've never seen water as such. And then they try and get in and they don't understand how it works. They don't understand, that it's dense and they're going to, there's resistance and that sort of stuff. And I mean, you try, and I said, there's a lady we had a while ago who was in the pool. She's only into the water up to her sort of thighs. And she was trying to walk and she just kept falling over because she just didn't understand how. And then once she fell over, she couldn't get up again. So we're continually just picking her up. She's a big African lady. We're picking her up. She's standing up. She's pissing herself laughing. She thought it was hilarious. She was going to die happy, but she just kept falling over and we had to just keep picking her up and standing her up. By the end of the session, she'd sort of worked it out a little bit. And that's the hardest part. You get all the any of them that go out in the water or, go snorkeling out on the reef or whatever, you can float on your stomach, not a problem, with a snorkel on your fins. But then they've got to stand up and that's the part that they can't do properly until they've learned how to do it. So that's it, and that's where we're working with the TAFE College and Trinity Bay High School with their students as well, and trying to get them to learn how to swim, and learn how to stand up, and learn the effects that water have on your body when you're trying to move through it, whether it's swimming or walking or whatever.
Like you said, I mean, we take it for granted, but you don't know what you don't know.
No, that's right. Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I walked on snow. My God, I could see the Mongolians. They were like,
yeah,
look at that guy. You know what I mean? Hey, fair enough. You know.
Yep. It's what you've grown up with, and we just, as I said, we take it for granted, and we just live in it. So it's not an issue for us. And then even some of the Indigenous kids that come down from remote communities that are nowhere, might be near a lake or a river or something, but they probably all stand up in that, and they don't have the flow, and they don't have the waves crashing, and they don't have the like I had it. Some of the waterways we have up here, they're dangerous. But if you're not confident enough to swim against it, or to get to the side, or be able to maneuver around, and we just teach a lot of just sculling and flotation and not so much swimming. They all just want to get in and swim, and most of them can do that. But once they stop swimming, that's their problem. It's mainly just getting whether they're disabled, multicultural, Indigenous, disadvantaged, even family members, that sort of stuff. So it's just trying to get those guys involved in the program, or in some sort of swimming program. Now, we talk about multicultural guys that come in, but it's also their families and their parents and that sort of stuff that we're trying to get engaged in the water as well. So we're running adult classes at our other facility at Palm Avenue. But it's just, everyone should have the opportunity to learn how to swim. Everyone should have the chance to be in water and even feel safe in the water. All right. Now, the other thing that I'm involved in is also the Global Water Safety and Drowning Prevention Rotary Club, which is a charter group that we started 12 months ago. But we've got there's 39 countries. There's 17 countries and 39 people involved in this group. And at the moment, all we're doing is just getting together and trying to work out how can we stop drownings and in the world. They want to try and get it to zero drownings. I don't think that's ever going to happen, because people are just stupid, and people are people. But when you're talking about India, for example, that has 80 drownings a day just in India, and Thailand probably pretty much the same. So these are preventable, and drowning's the biggest preventable death in the world at the moment. We can prevent a lot of this from happening. But again, it's the same thing we were talking about before, where people just don't know how to swim and don't know how to move in the water, and they're drowning in bowls and buckets and puddles and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So to be inclusive, we're talking about everything from multicultural, Indigenous, disadvantaged, disability, and then more importantly adults as well. Because if you get the adults on board, then they can teach the kids later on as well. So that's the inclusive part of and our program and our swimming club and Swimming Queensland are always talking about inclusion and making sure that no one misses out on the opportunity to swim or learn how to swim and be water safe.
And it really is an opportunity. It's a beautiful thing to be in the water. It really is. Again, we take it for granted, but that's my experience in Outer Mongolia, which is landlocked.
Yeah.
I show these kids photographs of me swimming, and they were just like, their eyes were like this. You know what I mean? They couldn't believe that there was that much water.
Yeah.
And B, that you can get in and frolic it, and because it can almost.
Yeah,
it's kind of cold over there, so it's kind of uncomfortable too.
Yeah,
but
it can be really scary. That's the problem, and I don't like going up to the water holes up here in Ithaca, because I'd be sitting there on patrol. I'd feel like I'd need to do something, or need to make sure, telling kids to get out of the water or watch this or watch that, and you'd be stressing the whole time you're there, because it happens. It's recently happened up at I don't even know where it was now, but up at Crystal Cascades or something like that. We had a couple of boys that, one of them had a near drowning experience, and they're part of our they are now our program. They're happy to be in the water now, and they're more than confident now. But that experience of near drowning or being in that situation where, and I don't know, I've almost been in that situation, but it's not you can imagine what they're going through when they just can't get air.
The complete and utter fear.
Oh,
Right?
it's definitely, yeah.
I know. It's I mean, we've all been there. Even if you've just been dumped by a big wave for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, you've received the Australian Swimming Coaches and Teaching Association Multi-Class Coach of the Year Award. You got that in 2019. Mate,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. Do you want to talk about that? You know, how you got it and how it felt and all that?
Yeah. Oh, look, it was pretty awesome. I mean, this is for scooters swimming at the Pan Pacific Championships in Cairns. So it was back then, and he obviously swam. In all honesty, he didn't have a lot of competition. But he won, multiple golds and silvers and that sort of stuff over there. So because he did that, then that was awarded to me that year. Now I look at it as probably more of it was awarded for that particular event, but I look at it more as probably time spent or time served. And that's how I look at it now, as a reward for all the effort that we'd put in up until 2019, and we got some recognition. So we were at the ASTA conference down on the Gold Coast, and it was an official dinner and everything else. So that was all suited up, which I don't normally wear big boy pants, but I was down there for that and had them on and had the suit on and everything else. So that was it was nice. It was an awesome night. So that sits in pride of place at the bar.
Oh, yeah. It's in the like in the castle. It's in a pool room.
Straight to the pool room.
But look, you have coached a number of real achievers. We've spoken a little bit about Grant Scooter Patterson, but I do have some overseas viewers and some interstate viewers who might know who he is.
Yeah.
Could you run through? And I know you've coached so many people, and we mean no disrespect to that. I know you're going to forget people and stuff like that. But run through some of the people that you've coached and the achievements that they've got to.
Yeah, look, I mean, Scoot's obviously the main one. He's been on 10 Australian teams now. He's been on 2 Paralympics and multiple World Championship teams and para teams and that sort of stuff. So he's obviously the main one. So like I said, he's been with me for 15 years. The other one was Joel Mundy, who went over to the Commonwealth Games last year, I think it was the year before. And he swam in the 50 free. Unfortunately, Joel's not in the water at the moment, but we're trying to get him back and looking at Paris for next year. And then there's just been other able-bods that have been to, national level and state level and that sort of thing. So there's been a few, probably not as many as some of the other coaches up here, but we sort of encouraged to, I don't get all the good ones, if you want to say it like that. I sort of get I'll take anyone. Not that that's a bad thing, but we sort of build the program around having, good numbers and a family club and that sort of thing. And that's probably what our Central Cairns Swimming is, more as a family club and a lot of young kids coming through. But I've had national medalists and state medalists and all that sort of thing. So that side of it's good. I've got another young S14 coming through now. He's qualified for nationals. Another S7, so a cerebral palsy girl who's qualified for nationals as well as a 13-year-old. So those side of it's really good. But I don't look at the the results of that sort of thing. I look at the overall thing and where the club is, where the kids are, whether they're enjoying themselves, whether they're getting the results they want, rather than this is the medal tally or. That's just how I roll a little bit.
And that's important too, because you might have someone like, I've actually, without going too much into the equity argument, but like if you've got someone who really does start off, who've got some severe disabilities and they've improved like this much, they mightn't get to some sort of national level, but that's a phenomenal achievement.
They've still got to their goal. They've still got to their level, and you want any kid to be the best they possibly can be individually. And that mightn't be the best swimmer in your program. That might be just some kid that wants to train all the time and work really hard. And as a coach or you're talking about success as, you've got multiple medalists at a national level, or you've had these kids that have come through your program, been there for 8 to 10 years, loved every minute of it, and walk away enjoying the process. Which is the better coach? Which is the coach that's done more for. And I don't want to just work with elite athletes all the time or the top kids. I want to work with the kids that want to be there and want to get something out of it. And they may not be the best swimmers in the world, but they get they do the best they can and they get the results they can.
Yeah. And that's so important too. And if they walk away with a love of water and being able to look after themselves, and incidentally, look, if they see someone in trouble, being able to sort that out too, that's a pretty big deal. What advice would you like to give to people about coaching, life, and swimming generally? Because you really do have a unique perspective on this, Herbie, and I'm not being ironic or flippant.
Yeah, look, as I said, I've always been involved in coaching. I've always loved working with kids and getting the best out of them and mainly just making them enjoy the experience. And it's not just that swimming stuff. It's not so much more than that. I always try and make it a bit of fun. We have music pumping on pool deck. We have competitions. They've got to try and guess who the artists are, because I play most of my music, so they've got to try and guess who the artists are. But it's just about keeping it entertaining and wanting the kids to come back. You're not always going to get them all. They don't always want to stay. There's so many things for kids to do now. And, once they get to 14 or 15 and it's harder in the water and their body shape changes and all of a sudden they can't do the times, they haven't PB'd for 2 years. And that's hard for them to kick and go again. So you just got to try and keep it as entertaining as you can, But, boys are going to peak when they're 21, 22. And they all dropping out at 15 or 16 here, which is really disappointing. Girls are even later, they might peak at, girls might be 21, 22, boys are 23, 24. You look at the average age of the team of in world champs or something like that, and you're probably looking at 23, 24. So they're a little bit older. The girls are a little bit younger. But you're getting them pulling out at, stopping swimming and doing all that hard work when they're 15 or 16, because it's just, they find girls or boys, they find a job, they get money, they find that little alcohol thing, and things just go, okay, I don't want to, there's so many better things than getting up at, 5 o'clock in the morning and training on pool deck and then going to school and coming home and doing. So that side of it is tough. So you've got to come up with a plan to keep them entertained and want them to be there. And it's getting harder and harder. And you talk to any coach now and they'd be saying the same thing. How do we get these kids motivated to be at the pool and do the hard work? And because once you're out of it, it's really hard to get back into it and get to the level you used to swim at. I get in a couple of times a week and have a splash, and I still get frustrated because I know what I used to be able to do and how it used to feel. Now it just feels like a bucket of shit swimming down the pool, and it's hard work, and I that's why I want to try and keep doing it, because not going to get back to the times I used to do, obviously, but I want to feel better in the water. And it is a lifelong skill. And, you can go into water polo, you can go into any canoeing or any water sport or whatever, if you've done enough work originally to love it, and you want them to love it. You don't want them to hate swimming. I don't want to go swimming. You don't want parents to make them come. You want the kid to get up in the morning, set their alarm, go and wake mum and dad up and say, can you take me to the pool? That's the ideal swimmer you want to try and have, that they're the ones that want to initiate the getting to the pool and being there. And I had a kid the other day said, I just need to have a break. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I said, mate, you do whatever you have to do. If that's what you want to do, we're always going to be here for you. He goes, I don't want to come to the pool and I don't want to hate it anymore. I said, that's fine. And you don't want them to just be there, because then they disrupt. They don't want to do the job. They don't want to train hard, and they're going to disrupt everyone else. So, so that's the messages you get from some of the kids. And, he's only 15, and he's pretty talented, but he just doesn't want to commit us anymore. I've got him as a learn to swim teacher now, so I've hooked him there. So he's going to do the hours and become a learn to swim teacher and start working in our program. And we've had a number of our kids do that, which is great for the sport and great for them, because they get that learn to swim a teaching role, and then they can travel around the world doing anything there, because they love Swim Australia teachers. So it's just, that's the hard part, but you just got to keep it entertaining and try and change it up as much as you probably can. Throw lollies at them and have the music blaring and give them challenges and goals. And, we've got a chin-up board now. We've got whoever gets the most chin-ups and whoever skips the most, and all the dryland stuff that we try and do. You just got to keep it entertaining for them. But it is getting harder and harder to get these kids to the sessions. probably 5, 6, 7 years or 10 years ago, even we used to took 21 kids down to state championships, and they're all doing 7, 8 sessions a week, and they'd all ride on everyone else's wave and get into it and support each other and be there. Now you're struggling to get them to do their 7 or 8 sessions. You're getting 4 sessions a week, or 6 sessions a week at the most, and then you're not going to get the results you want by just doing those sessions. You need to be in the water regularly, and it's just up to the coaches to try and come up with plans to want the kids to be there.
If people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Oh, just get on our either Facebook page, or the Central Cairns have got a Facebook page as well, or Herb's Training and Swim School. And as I said, we've got the 2 pools, one at Trinity Bay, which we've been there for 14 or 15 years now, and the relationship we've got with the school is absolutely awesome. Love being there. They just let us go, and we just work outside school hours. And then we've got the Old Cairns Dive Centre now in Parramatta Park, where we do a lot of the Indigenous, disability, multicultural babies and toddlers. I don't do babies and toddlers. I don't do the poo and vomit stuff. That's someone else's job. But we do all the and little kids there. So then once they develop, we bring them over. And the other thing that a lot of what I think we do really well is we've got connections with a lot of the other swim schools in the region as well. So Waterwise, See Me Swim, Janet Evans Swim School, those 3 that are sort of surrounded by us. So we have a connection with them, invite them to club night, and then once the kids have gone out of that little learn to swim program, they come across to us and get into the bigger pool. So having that connection there is really, really good as well. But yeah, or they can just email me or ring us or whatever. Yeah, we're open or just pop into Trinity Bay any afternoon from 4 o'clock and we're there. Just come and say hello. You
Google Herbie Howard swim school.
We haven't got a website, but yeah, there's probably we've never really advertised. That's the problem, I suppose. We never advertise. It's just all word and mouth, and they're probably the ones you want. But yeah, Herbie H at bigpond.net.au, and email us, and we can help you out and do whatever.
And he's fighting an uphill battle, but doing really, really well, because everybody's up against screens right now. Let's be honest. This new technology, which is specifically designed to take human attention, is doing just that, and taking our kids away from the things that they could and should be doing. And despite that, he's still doing okay. Like, obviously, he's still feeling a bit sad, but he's still kicking butt. Look, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I do. Great to hear from you, Naomi. Great to hear from you, Heidi. Thank you so much for your comments. Thanks to everybody else that's commented there as well. Please please share. Tune in next week to Northern Vibe. I've got a fantastic lineup of guests ready for you. But if you have anyone else that you know should come on Northern Vibe, or if you want to come on Northern Vibe, make sure you contact me through the Facebook site, or you can email me at mjamaloney@bigpond.com. Thank you. Oh, sorry, mjamaloney@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next week.